Good morning and happy Friday. My name is Russ Lag and I am the host today for the Big Agent Meeting. Today we've got a great show scheduled for you. We've got a number of things that are going to be fun for you guys to watch. We're going to kick it off with Holly Mabry talking about brokerage ops. She always brings amazing stuff every Friday to us from the operations side of EXP. Then we're going to kick over to Brian Ellington talking about university and what's coming to you in the near future at university that you need to know about so you can stay up to speed and educated on the best of the best coming out of EXP. And then I am super excited to watch the interview with Brian Ellington and Janie Coffey. She is not only an amazing human being, but an amazing luxury agent. I can't wait to see some of their conversation because we always want to get into luxury. Everybody wants to get into luxury. How do you do that? I'm hoping they have that conversation of how to get started in there. And she's just an amazing human being also. So to kick off today, I'm going to start off with Market Minute like we do every Friday. And today I want to talk to you about something interesting. I'm a real estate guy, but I know a little bit about mortgage stuff too, because as a real estate guy, mortgage is part of our business. So what I want you guys to start thinking is how do I make sure that I am a well-rounded real estate agent? Part of that is understanding basics of mortgage. Now, there's something I want you guys to do that people in the mortgage industry aren't that great at, and it's telling people the story of what's going on with mortgage. I'm going to show you briefly how I used to have conversations with people when they ask me about mortgage stuff. It doesn't happen as often anymore. However, it does still happen with families so far. They're like, what's going on in mortgage rates? And we hear a lot about mortgage rates, right? This is how I communicate what's going on today, okay? This is actual, factual, real stuff, real numbers, real metrics, okay? So let's just talk about mortgage rates. You'll hear people say, hey, Russ, did you see the mortgage rates went down again? Because they were up in around 7.1 or so, 7.1, 7.2, and now they're down in the 6.6-ish or so. So what I did is I actually rounded down to 7 and 6.5 because it'll be easier math for you and me and easier round numbers, okay? So when somebody says something like, I saw interest rates dropped a little bit, I said, you know what? Actually, they have. Over the last month or so, they've dropped from 7 to 6.5. They've dropped about 0.5%. Funny enough, my buddy Jason Sprague, who's a mortgage guy with Success Mortgage here local, one of my favorite dudes, been around him forever. He told me the other day he got a VA deal at 100% financing, and I think he said Mississippi for 5.8% for a VA deal. And I was like, hey, we got to talk about this mortgage stuff again. Okay, so start asking around and start keeping up to speed on what's going on with mortgage. So here's the deal. There are a bunch of buyers that have been sitting on the sideline because they're saying the interest rates are too high, they're too high. And what happens is then the mortgage people come on and they go, well, interest rates dropped by 0.5%. And everybody's like, cool, great, whatever. So what I want you to do is I want you to be able to tell the story. So instead of saying interest rates dropped by 0.5%, remember, as I'm going through this Market Minute stuff, I keep saying, tell them what you want to tell them and then tell them what it means. So when you do the video, your name, tell them stuff, tell them what it means, say your name, and you're out. Okay, super video recipe. So let's go through this real quick. I'm going to give you guys the long math, but you can explain it much more simple, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. Okay, on a $350,000 house at 7%, the principal and interest only is $2,328 on that. Okay, on a $350,000 house at 6.5%, the principal and interest only is $2,212 on that. Principal and interest only, okay? So it's $116 a month. You'd be like, well, Ross, man, nobody's gonna make a decision to buy a house over $116 a month. And my response to you is, really? No? That's because you're not telling the rest of the story. So the rest of the story is, it's not just $116 a month. It's $116 a month times 12 months times 30 years, which is 360 payments. 116 times 360 payments is $41,000 difference in the cost of the home over the life of the loan. So when you're saying to somebody, well, it's only half, it's not that big of a deal. I don't know. Is $41,760 a big deal to you? Right, so that's how you're going to go. So when somebody says, you know, I'm waiting for interest rates to come down, do you realize they've come down to 0.5%? And on a $350,000 house, that saves you $41,000, almost $42,000 over the life of the loan. So is 42 grand a big deal to you? So you're worried about the house going up or down a couple $1,000s and maybe even going down 10 grand over the next year when you're going to be ahead over the long time part of the loan. So when I see you guys looking at this information, I want you to start to understand it and just practice it a couple of times. Just practice saying it a couple of times. You can have a couple of different scenarios in your head. You can have a couple of scenarios written down. I've got them on my Remarkable that I refer to all the time. And by the way, I have this lovely little this lovely little app right here called Carl's Mortgage Calculator. I'm not a paid advertiser for, I'm not an affiliate. Carl, Karls, Carl's Mortgage Calculator. And part of the reason I love Carl's Mortgage Calculator is it's the app version of a whiteboard. It's only got a couple of numbers you can plug in. Super simple, easy, user-friendly. And you can just change the values and it'll tell you what the numbers and the metrics are. So if you don't have that, get Carl's Mortgage Calculator. I'm going to have to go ask him for a royalty split on this thing. I think it's free, so he's probably going to give me 100% on it. Kidding. Anyway, so grab that calculator, start running some of these things, understand what a 0.5% means. And by the way, guys, if this number is 700 in your market, Northern Colorado, Northern Denver right now, $710,000 average sales price, median sales price, that doubles this, okay? It's an $84,000, $85,000 difference over the life of a loan on a $700,000 house. So when people are saying it's only 0.5%, that thing can really add up. So there you go. So there's my my weekly. Easy for me to say. You guys ever stumble over words when you're live in front of a bunch of people? Don't worry about it. It's not going to end your world. It is no big deal. Just like, easy for me to say, move on. Okay, there's your market minute for Friday, Big Agent Meeting. Let's kick it over to Ian Wheatley with KGCI Radio. What you got for us, Ian?
Hey, thanks for popping by. We are coming into the final day of a pretty busy week here at KGCI Real Estate On Air. We're going to be coming into a special edition of the Friday Focus immediately following today's Big Agent Meeting. We're going to be talking about your CRM, specifically what you need to be doing to track, nurture, and convert leads at a high level. We are kicking it off with a replay of Tuesday's Real Estate On Air Live, where I was joined by Sarah Delancig, who does the Keeping It Real Estate segment over at the Agent Power Huddle YouTube channel. She's an ISA, Inside Sales Agent. And we got her unique perspective on how real estate agents should be using their CRM. We cover a lot of ground, from the basic setup of lead classification all the way to how to effectively leverage AI and automations to keep your touches value-packed and simple to systematize, okay? We wrap that up and roll into the Friday Focus, which is led off by Sarah going even deeper into the conversation that we had with some of the advanced tactics, okay? If you're a college grad, if Sarah and I's conversation was that 101 or 201, think of this as that upper division undergrad class, okay? You'll want to know what we covered in our conversation to get the most out of her special session, okay? And since it is the Friday Focus, the entire day is dedicated to CRM strategies and tactics, all centered around tracking and nurturing and converting leads. And since we're KGCI Real Estate On Air, all of it will be available for you before the end of the day today, wherever you're listening to podcasts. So you can listen on your time. Just don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening to podcasts. Now, you can do all that by scanning the QR code on your screen right now, or better yet, download the Real Estate On Air mobile app for iPhone and Android. More than 1,000 agents are using it to listen in the car or have immediate access to 1,600 plus podcast episodes covering all things real estate. So if you haven't yet, download the app and stay ahead today with KGCI Real Estate On Air.
All right. Thank you very much, Ian Wheatley. And by the way, Sarah Delancig, absolute rock star, freaking amazing human being, doing great stuff in the inside sales agent side, like the driving the back end of part of the thing to get to the people that point to where they're ready to say yes. She's doing all that stuff, and just an amazing human being also. One of my favorites. She's just a peach. All right. So there you go. Next up, we have the one and only Holly Mabry with our brokerage operation. She's got an update for you guys on what's going on brokerage operations side. Holly, take it away.
EXP, and thank you so very much, Russ. I love getting to be a part of the Big Agent Meeting and bring you market insights and what's going on around the nation to help you build your business. And today we've got some things because we're seeing some creativity in the market. And so I thought I would give you some tools to use as you're meeting with your buyers and sellers. So how about this? As we look at market insights, what's so important to me is making sure you are the best prepared when you go to meet with a buyer and seller anywhere we are. And so wraps and subject to, it's kind of a crazy thing. There was a time and place back in the day that we saw a lot of these. And so with what's going on in the market today, interest rates are riding a little bit higher. Yeah, they've come down in the last few days, but previously they've been high. We've seen some folks actually getting creative and saying, okay, what if we assume your lower interest rate? What if we assume taking over mortgage payments that you were making, and we'll go ahead and just wrap around your current mortgage, pay your mortgage, but we're not really qualifying. We wanted to make sure that you, as one of our practitioners, are going out into the market, having a great conversation with your sellers and buyers. So subject to mortgage basically means you're transferring title. Everything is wrapped around the seller's original mortgage and that payment. And the buyer is going to take responsibility for making the payments, sometimes directly to the lender. You can already hear the red flags going off. Now, a wrap, very similar. The seller is going to continue to have their loan, but the buyer's making payments to the seller, and then the seller makes the payments. The seller's maintaining responsibility for the original mortgage. Now, this is what's so hard. These terms are often used interchangeably. And when you think about how we take care of our buyers and sellers, it's all about choice. We're seeing in some markets, many agents receiving multiple offers that will have a subject to or a wrap. And what's so important here is, guys, we educate people. So as a result, we put together a new consumer advisory. Y'all, this is literally a checklist of pros and cons for both buyers and sellers, outlining the risks. This is something that you can have in your listing kit or your buyer kit. When people are talking about alternative types of financing, we wanted to give you the high level things to be aware of, to have a better getting started conversation. But at the end of the day, you and I are going to do our best to get people to the licensed professionals, an attorney, a CPA, a tax advisor, all of those things, because when you and I look at it, this is above our real estate license. This is not something I can advise fully on. I can give you the high level overview of positive and negative. But at the end of the day, buyer and seller, it's your choice. So when you start to look at this advisory for sellers, I may use this as part of my listing presentation. I may actually roll in and talk about different types of financing, what they can expect. With buyers, I may have buyers who come to me and they're like, hey, I heard about this thing. I'd like to do a wrap, or I'd like to assume somebody's loan. Okay, great. Let's talk about what this looks like for you, positive and negative. And also, this is about you as an agent creating options in the market. Now, as EXP, I've got a lot of concerns and I want you to be protected. But at the end of the day, the more you know, the better we are together. So key benefits for the sellers, yeah, we could be exposed to a larger buying pool. We could see a higher price, interest income, all of that kind of stuff, as well as tax advantages, because maybe you're spread out over paying that lump sum tax. If I'm an investor, this may make sense to me. If I'm selling my primary home, it may not. And more on that right now, because due on sale is absolutely real. Most loans today have a due on sale clause, which means the minute I transfer title, I'm paying off my original note. As a result, that mortgage liability, we want to make sure that goes away. But if a seller does a wrap or a subject to, that loan is not gone away. It's still in the seller's name. The seller still carries that liability, and it shows up on their credit record. So I may not be able to go out and re-qualify for something or buy something new because I've got so much money tied up in the house that I'm selling, but I'm not paying off that note. Now, this is where it gets crazy, especially for your VA borrowers. Your VA entitlement is tied up in that original property, and that becomes a challenge. VA, yes, you can assume, but the entitlement stays with that original loan. So you want to be very, very thoughtful. Also, increased costs. We could see some additional fees, right? You want to make sure that the seller knows that they may have to pay for a lender, they may have to pay for a CPA, the title company, an attorney, but also if something bad should happen. And sometimes in real estate that does. Let's say the house burns down, or the buyer goes in and starts to do a major remodel, but doesn't have the money to complete it. And then they can't complete it, they lose their job, and you've got to take the house back. Now you've got a half-built house. Like, these are all the horror stories that you and I talk about when we look at how things work. It's important you and I lay these out in an honest way for sellers to make good choices. Now, for buyers, there's really no qualification. They may have a lot of money that couldn't put down. They're not going through a lender. And so there's some possibilities there. Your loan costs, obviously, there may not be any. Maybe you're just working with a title company or an attorney. You may be able to close a whole lot faster because you're not waiting on lender review and appraisal, and terms can be negotiable. Those are all positives. But on the negative side, that due on sale clause comes back. See, on the due on sale for lenders, they're looking at everybody. And if the due on sale comes up and the seller's like, hey, you've got to refinance, the buyer can't refinance, the seller may have to take the property back, and now your buyer is homeless. Also, the seller, if you're requiring the seller to pay the mortgage payment and they just start taking the money, maybe you default on the house and now you're looking at foreclosure by the lender. Also, insurance challenges. And with the way insurance is running right now across the nation, I want to be very thoughtful here. The seller will be required to have some sort of policy on the property for their loan, period. That's got to be, because the insurance has to cover the lender. But you as the buyer coming in, where it gets a little bit tricky is now I've got more money tied up in the house as well as my personal property. I can't rely on the seller's insurance. I've got to go get my own. And there's special types of coverage you need to investigate. There's more, and it may not be considered homeowners. It could be considered renters. It depends on how the contract reads. And that's why having a really great attorney go through the contract pieces with you makes a difference. Now, why am I sharing all of this with you? I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to make sure that we're educated as we sit in front of a buyer or a seller to have really honest conversations about, can you do it? Absolutely. Should you do it? It depends. It depends on your circumstance. It depends on what you're trying to do. And of course, there's future complications. Could the price go down? Could, the value of the property, and you're not able to refinance out of it? Could you have other challenges? Maybe your credit or job loss. Could you see other things in the area? Could you not be able to improve the property? All of those things, because you don't fully own it, make a difference. Now, finally, the legal considerations. We've got states that are very, very specific. My understanding is both Louisiana and Texas have some additional rules when it comes to any kind of wrap or subject to. And you want to be watching those very closely because we're seeing a lot of laws change right now. Documentation, this as an agent is really critical. What did I tell you? When did I tell you? How did you follow up? And so with this advisory, I'm really excited because it's something you can give to people upfront. It's something that you can email to them, then you've got receipt. We're not going to require that you have them sign it. Is it a good practice? For sure. But do you need to? That's up to the situation. And so really, we want to make sure that people are aware of legal issues in the state, title, and also disclosure requirements. What does it look like in the state that you're working in, and how you make best practices happen? Now, finally, best practices for you as the agent, always be providing the advisory. Always make sure that you are helping facilitate that professional consultation. Y'all, I will share that we've had sellers sign a subject to and then go and speak to the attorney afterwards. And the attorney's like, this is a really bad idea given your situation. Seller needed to cancel. The buyer would only cancel if the seller wrote him a check for $9,000. I'm sharing that with you because now that's something that you can share with your sellers. Go ahead and make that call ahead of time before you negotiate the offer. It's not incumbent on you to take it on. And then at the end of the day, you and I as realtors, we're going to present all offers as we receive them, and we're going to give the facts. The seller and the buyer ultimately make the final decision. It's their choice, but we're going to give them guidance as what could be done, how they should do it, and where to go from next. Now, this is what I'm really excited about. We just rolled out this document. It literally is on its way to SkySlope, and it will be in your SkySlope in about 2 weeks. All of your state brokers will have this. It will be here, and we will be putting it out in all of the state newsletters. We want to make sure you're the best prepared professional as you head out into the marketplace. And we know there's creativity. So we're here to help and always be building your business. Thank you guys so much, and have a great weekend.
All right, there you go. Holly Mabry, always bringing value across the board and making sure you guys are knowledgeable and protected. So I absolutely love that. All right, Brian Ellington, why don't you jump on in here? University, my man, as usual.
Hey, good morning, Russ. How are you?
I'm doing good. Chief Learning Officer. Man, it sounds like you're going to arrest me for something. What's going on, man? I didn't read a book that fast, officer, I swear.
Happy Friday to you, brother. Hey, I read this quote the other day, Maxwell Maltz, and what he said was, you'll never outperform your self-image.
Right.
You'll never outperform your self-image.
That's strong.
Well, so most agents don't fail in this industry because of leads or market conditions. They fail because they still see themselves as, just another agent instead of as a business owner and an expert. And if you don't believe you're worth higher commissions, bigger listings, being able to get into the luxury market, stronger client commitments, your results are going to reflect that belief, friends. So if you want to elevate your mindset, sharpen your skills, and really step into your full potential, overcome this sort of self-imposed limitations, and create the business that you truly want, eXp University can help you with that. So we've got some things coming up next week. I'd love to share. First off, I've got my eXpCon t-shirt here. eXpCon Montreal coming up at the end of this month, beginning of April. 30 breakout sessions, mastermind certifications, amazing keynote speakers, and some fun parties as well. That's going to be in Montreal in April, early April. So please do join us for that. You can get your tickets. Go to eXp Montreal on your Google, and you'll find us.
I'm there.
Today,
I'll see you there.
I'll see you there as well, friend. I'm looking forward to it. My beautiful wife is even going to join me. So today at 1 p.m. Eastern, we have our monthly Expand virtual mastermind. If you're not part of Expand Investing with Brendan Brittingham, you want to go to expelevatecoaching.com. Thank you. And then on Monday, we've got Level Up with the amazing Brian Moses. He's going to come talk about how to overcome buyer challenges, secure loyalty, and really scale your business. And then on Tuesday, we've got our friend Steve Johnstone. He's going to be talking about referral mastery, client parties, B2B meetings, and advocate lunches, which is kind of cool. And then also on Tuesday, I've been looking forward to this for like months since Renee Rodriguez told me about this. So Renee Rodriguez does Amplify EXP with us, right? You can check that out at Elevate Coaching. His guest next Tuesday is going to be Neil Ford. That's F-O-A-R-D. And I spell it because if you've not seen Neil speak before, he is a master of storytelling. And so Renee's having him on Amplify EXP to talk about personal branding and storytelling. And by the way, while you're checking out Neil, if you've not checked out Renee's socials, Renee Rodriguez, they're amazing too. But do get involved in Amplify EXP. Wednesday, our guest today, Janie's going to be kicking off the next round of luxury sales success, and we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. Thursday, I hear tell you're going to be dominating masterclass for us. There you go. What are you talking about on your masterclass? You want to give yourself a shameless plug real quick?
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if you guys have met me. I do pretty much everything a little bit weird, and I have my own style, my own vibe, and my own way of doing pretty much everything. And you'd be surprised to know that the way I do a listing appointment, and have done listing appointments for 20 years, became very, very different. I got to learn how to do a listing appointment in Tampa in 2006 and 7, when I would sit with sellers and say, okay, you think your house is worth 300 grand? It's actually worth 2. And then they screw around for 5 weeks, and now it's worth 175. And then they mess around a couple more weeks, and it's worth 165. I mean, that's the market I got to learn how to do listing appointments in. So you can imagine the skill set is a little bit different. But what I found is people have certain things that they want to talk about, and I'm going to focus on making it about them and talking about what they want to hear. And by the time I get done with that, I don't even have to tell them about myself. They buy me without even having to go into the me part of it. So it's about building credibility, presenting information so they make great decisions fast. They understand where they should be priced, not where you would price, where you should be priced. And then let's talk about what you would do. We separate out those conversations, and then I've got the craziest whiteboard stick figure objection handler. If they don't agree with the price, it literally just shuts it down immediately. And if that doesn't make sense, and you got somebody that's just not going to be reasonable, that's the ones to walk away from. But most people go, okay, got it. And then they end up listing the price at the house at the right price. And we got a lot of that going on right now. So it's a ton of fun. I enjoy the heck out of teaching it. And it's been a while since I taught it. So thank you for letting me.
Yeah, I hope at least all the agents in Austin tune in because we could all use that, man. That's awesome. But I know that's Austin is not isolated. So
Yeah.
awesome for doing that. Thank you. And then also on Friday, next Friday on the Big Agent Meeting, if you have enough qualified hot leads, please do not watch the Big Agent Meeting. But if you do not, then please do. We've got Cindy Nixon with revenues coming on to share about some of the referral programs, relocation programs, and how to generate hot leads through EXP. That's going to be a cool show. So check that out. And then also next Friday, we're dropping the Lab podcast with Kunal Seth of the Seth Brothers in Houston. We had a fantastic conversation where he's going to share all about how to build a business pipeline so that you have stability in your business. So be sure to check that out. But today, Russ, I have my friend Janie Coffey coming to join me. So if you will forgive us, we'll be back to you. We'll be gentle with the show in the meantime, I promise. And I'll turn it back over to you in just a little bit.
See you in a couple.
All right. Hey, good morning, Janie. How are you?
Hi, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing great. So, Janie, briefly, would you mind just sharing a little bit for folks who haven't yet gotten to meet you? How did you get to where you are in real estate and in luxury?
Yeah. So 20 years, this is my 20th year in the business.
Hey, congratulations.
In residential sales, I had kind of residential sales aligned businesses before. I'm a general contractor, and I've been in general contracting, building all of that side of the business since college. So 20 years licensed, 19 years licensed as a broker and a broker associate. I was, really ambitious and got my broker's license at a year and a day, opened a small boutique brokerage in Miami, kept that open bricks and mortar through the entire recession. That's basically when I got my license, 2005. A great time, and I don't regret it at all because I learned so much. I think just like Russ was mentioning, you really learn a lot of great tools in the ups and the downs of the market. 5 years in, Sotheby's came to town in Miami. I fell in love with that brand, joined that brand as an agent, became an executive, worked my way up to be the executive vice president of a very, very large Sotheby's franchise. And I did that for about 5 years. Ended up becoming a founding agent at Compass. I was with Compass for 3 years, and then I joined EXP 3.5, coming up on 4 years ago. We did not have a luxury division. Everybody was like, what are you going to do? We still had that outdated logo and everything like that didn't feel very luxury either. But you know what? Everything went great. 2 years in, we developed the luxury division here at EXP. I'm the co-chair of the luxury division along with 4 other amazing people and amazing staff people. And I've spent a lot of this time also working with agents in a training and coaching capacity about how to get into luxury, and having the background as an owner broker, a top producing solo agent, a team leader, management. I kind of pulled all those things in, and that's what I hope to share with people about luxury, because I've talked to so many agents from so many different brokerages, so many parts of the world. I have a lot of experiences that I pull together, not just my own.
Yeah. And well, speaking of your own experience, I'm curious, were you always a luxury agent, or did you get into that later in your career?
Yeah, no, so I was not. Very few people go right from real estate school into luxury, but it can happen, and I've seen it happen, so I don't want to discourage people from that. It's just not the typical path. I was in a higher end community, Coral Gables, Florida, which is a sub-community of Miami. So the properties were already, even the average price properties were already nice. But I did that. I specialize in historic properties down there, which I still specialize in now. I'm in St. Augustine, and just built my way up through connections. And then finally somebody who I had made a connection with needed me to help sell their parents' place, which was a luxury home. And that just kind of got it going. And then joining Sotheby's actually, gave me a lot of experience and a lot of understanding that everybody has access to. It's not just at that brand, but since I had my own brokerage at the time, I didn't have any other exposure to that. So it's possible for everybody. All it is additional skills and knowledge. That's it.
Well, yeah, and I suspect too, first comes the mindset piece of it, because I think a lot of agents, I'll use the phrase imposter syndrome. I know that gets
Yeah.
overused, but I think they do have that kind of fear and doubt. In your experience, having trained and coached so many agents in the luxury space, what are the most common fears and doubts that you see agents struggle with, that if they could just get over that, they'd be able to raise their price point a lot sooner in their careers?
Yeah, there's three main things, and you use the term mind trash, I think, which I love, because people hold themselves back far more than the buyers and sellers would hold them back from raising their average sales price. And I hear it all the time. I've heard it for 20 years. Oh, I don't belong to that country club, or I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, or my spouse or my parents aren't this, I didn't go to this university, I don't drive this car, or I don't live in this community, or I don't belong to this board, or I have an accent. You hear that a lot. I have an accent. And none of that matters. I have stories, verifiable proof of very, very successful luxury agents from all backgrounds of life who have become very good and successful luxury agents. None of those things mattered, because like you said, whatever you said earlier was perfect. You rise to the level of who you think you are, and that's it. So that's something that holds people back a lot, is just their own mindset. The other thing that holds them back often is they think, oh, luxury properties, especially on the listing side, are going to be more expensive to list. They take longer on the market. More of them expire. A lot of that is true. You just make your business plan around that. Just like you make your business plan around, I'm going to sell X amount of properties. I intend to convert X amount of listing appointments. X amount of my listings are going to sell. X amount is going to be my expense ratio. You just bake that all in there. So those are true. But when you put the same metrics and the same conversion ratios as luxury sales versus, say, your bread and butter sales, then you're not stressed if you don't get a listing, or you're not stressed if a listing doesn't sell, because you've kind of already baked that into your business model. And then the bigger thing that people often also think is the people that you'd be dealing with are different. But in reality, I think it's often easier to deal with a luxury buyer or seller for multiple reasons. One, they've probably bought and sold many, many properties over time. Two, this isn't necessarily like the biggest transaction of their life. So they're not like, on edge about everything. They're seasoned. Three, they have so much else often going on in their life that you're letting you be the professional and handle the transaction, rather than being obsessed with it and, texting and calling you at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night because, what if I don't get insurance, or all the things that come up. So at the end of the day, luxury buyers and sellers are just regular people, just like us. Their piggy banks might look a little different than ours, but they're just regular people. They have pets to take care of. They have households to run. They have businesses. They have errands to run, all those things. And normally I find easier to deal with, especially than, like, say, a first-time home buyer who's like panicked about everything. So.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot of I feel like I got into this business to become an educator, and somewhere along the way, I realized I had to become partly a psychotherapist to help agents
Absolutely.
deal with that head trash that we all have. I mean, we do. It's part of the human condition. But I love your point, is the world is the world, luxury is luxury. So how do you work around that, right? And how do you make sure that you understand those guardrails and then get into it? So I'm curious then. Because there are some differences of luxury clients, right? It's not that made up, they're going to be snobby Thurston Howell the third and look down on us kind of stuff. I think I just dated myself with that one, but anyways, but what do luxury clients want above and beyond ordinary clients on the buy side or sell side, and how can we deliver that?
First and foremost, they're looking for high level professionalism, and that means your stuff. Contracts, You know the market that you're working in. You know you're a good negotiator. You know you really know your stuff. You're not trying to figure out contracts. You're not, soft in negotiations. I'm not saying you have to be super hard, but you have to be a skilled negotiator. Because if you think about higher net worth individuals, every other professional they deal with, from their attorneys, their CPAs, their financial planners, their estate planners, they're all very professional. They've normally sought out the best of the best, or somebody that there's often a lot of referrals going on too between higher price point buyers and sellers to their friends, because if they trusted somebody, that goes a long way. So they do expect high level professionalism, high level knowledge, and high level negotiation skills. And then I would just say, in general, a 5-star experience, whether that's on the buy side or the sell side. You do have to up your game, a lot of times, and make sure that everything is dialed in and your communication is smooth and on point. And just, if you imagine, again, that they would go to a really great CPA to do their taxes, that's what they're going to expect from their real estate professional as well.
Yeah. And I know in the coaching program, you dive deep into that. By the way, guys and gals, on Instagram Live on Monday, is it 12:45 Eastern, Jenny?
Eastern, yes. Yep.
12:45 Eastern, you're going to be on Instagram Live answering all your questions. So if you're curious about what Jenny just said and, okay, how do I do that? Come on Instagram Live and she'll answer as many questions as she can. And then, of course, you've got the coaching program starting on Wednesday where you dive deep into that. So question for you. So now we understand a little bit more what these individuals are looking for. How do I meet these folks? What are some good lead generation strategies for luxury buyers or sellers?
Yeah, so I love that question, because a lot of people, going back to what I said earlier, a lot of people think, oh, I need to belong to that certain club, or I need to be on the board of this, charitable foundation or something like that. And I need to golf at this golf club. You don't need to do any of those things. Even a person without a luxury sphere, without a known name, can get into luxury real estate. So on the listing side, of course, luxury expireds is a huge opportunity, because they've already tried who they think is, the top person, and that didn't work. So now they're open to other people. So luxury expireds are huge, and you can prospect for them, or you can do mailing campaign for them. For sale by owners, at the top, the top 1% of the market, I don't think you're going to get a lot of for sale by owners. But in the top 10% of the market, say the 90th percentile, because the Institute of Luxury Home Marketing says that luxury starts at the top 10% of the market. So most people, if you look in your MLS and figure out what that is, you're going to be surprised. It's a lot closer to maybe what you're already doing than you think. So here in my market, it's around 750, 800, 900,000. So more like starter luxury, think move up communities, golf courses, things like that. Those folks might be doing for sale by owner. So that's a great way that you could introduce yourself, get to know them, maybe give them some tips and things like that, and still build a reputation. If you have the finances and the resources to farm, like direct mail farm an area or a property type, that's probably one of the number one ways. But also you can be doing amazing social media. You can be doing videos. You can be building a newsletter, an e-newsletter list, and do that. Hosting open houses, another great way. Even if you don't have listings, find out who else at EXP in your market might let you host open houses and really do them up really, really well. Spend the time to market them in advance, have an amazing event, and then spend the time to follow up with everybody you met, because those are not just opportunities for buyers. They're also often opportunities for sellers, because sellers often go to open houses a few months before they're ready to list, because they want to check out, what's on the market. So that's a great way to meet them. And then you can even door knock around the open house prior to the open house to invite the neighbors. So again, more opportunities to get to meet people. So there's lots and lots of ways to generate luxury leads that are not based on your sphere, are not based on your known, name. and with some elbow grease and some consistency, which is really what this business is about in overall, you can definitely get there.
Well, and that surprises both. In my experience, some of the most successful luxury agents I've ever known were all door knockers, and that surprised me, right? Because I think a lot of people, again, have that head trash that, well, you don't door knock in a nice neighborhood like that. Well, you absolutely do if you're bringing value, and so if you can figure out how to bring value, and I know you talk a lot about that in your course, and then also I know you made your bones in expired luxury listings, and a lot of times people avoid expireds because they tell themselves, I'm not aggressive enough to deal with those angry people. And I would say a lot of superlative, wonderful things about you. Aggressive is not the first word that comes to mind when I think about you, right? But yeah, you were so
And
successful.
I'm negotiating, and then I
Yes, unless you're negotiating, absolutely. But I would say astute, maybe not aggressive, but astute, right? But yeah, you killed it with expired
I killed it with
luxury
expires.
listings, because of your strategy that you'll share with them. So I think that's something that most people think that they've got to, as you say, learn how to play golf or tennis and wear the accoutrement and join those clubs. But that's not true at all.
No.
Okay. So question for you. Could you give me a tip or a strategy that I could go implement today as a first step of getting into luxury?
You're sure. I think the very first step is to educate yourself on what is luxury in your market. And like I said, just go into your MLS, go 6 or 12 months back of closed residential sales, sort them highest to lowest, and find what is that top 90% break point. And then you'll know that's the starter point for luxury in your area or your MLS. I would do your MLS as a whole. Top 5% in my mind is really where luxury starts, because the top 10% is, like I said, it's more kind of starter luxury, move up luxury. And then the top 1% is uber luxury. But most people in their head are only thinking of that uber luxury. So when they talk themselves out of selling luxury, it's because, so in my market in St. Augustine, Florida, we might have an occasional $20-30 million oceanfront home. Super rare.
Right.
But some people might think, well, that's luxury. I can't sell that. I don't know how to sell that. And forgetting that, we have tons and tons and tons and tons, thousands of $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 golf homes, riverfront homes, nicer homes. So I would educate yourself on your MLS for that. And then I would set up a hot sheet for the areas that you're interested in and do a couple things. Every morning, I would be looking at what's come on the market, what's expiring, what are the words that are people using in their description, just get your finger on the pulse of the luxury market using that hot sheet. And if there are broker caravans or broker open houses or whatever they're called in your area, I would start to go to those religiously so that you can go and see these properties. You can become immersed in it. Like, what is that that language school that's immersion based? I'll think of it.
Magellan, is it?
I'll think of it in a minute. It's the well-known language school that, like, from day one, you're immersed in it. They are not speaking to you in your native language. So if you can immerse yourself even 15-30 minutes a day in luxury in your area by starting to gain that knowledge, that will give you a lot more confidence. That will give you a lot more understanding. It will break through that mystique. You'll figure out who are the agents who are selling luxury and go meet them. There's a lot fewer. The one great thing about luxury real estate is there's a lot fewer agents selling it, right? Yeah. So generally speaking, not all markets, but generally speaking, they're fairly friendly with each other because there's just a lot fewer, and they know they have to have good working relationships with each other because there's a good chance they're going to be on the other side multiple times with them. So start going and just seeing and just feeling. That's number one, because like you said, the number one thing that holds people back the most is kind of a lack of confidence or mindset. But all that is a lack of knowledge. So if you give yourself the knowledge, you're going to get the confidence. So that's what I would start with. And then figure out lead gen for you and go with that.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting how that head trash can work in your favor when it's other people's head trash, right? The fact that other people are holding themselves back. And to your point, I think the more you get into something, the less mysterious and less mystique there is around it. So I love that advice. That's really good advice. Now, Luxury Sales Success Program. Really briefly. So this is a 12-week program. And before, when you were getting into EXP Luxury, you either had to prove the production or you had to take the online on-demand certification. And that certification was certainly, it's a good course, but it is nowhere near the 12 weeks that you put out. And so much so that EXP Luxury now allows your course, your 12-week program to count as your luxury certification. So if I were going to get into that, what could I expect from that?
Yeah, so it's 12 weeks. And I will say we have a lot of luxury agents take the course too, like existing current luxury agents. And so we call it Foundations to Mastery, because there's literally something for everybody in those 12 weeks. We cover mindset. And I'm actually moving that to session number 1 because so many people found value in that previously, but it was deeper in the course. So we're going to do mindset session number 1, but then we do each week of those 12 weeks, instead of building upon each other of one theme, we take one theme and go really deep for an hour around luxury through that. So one is on farming, one is on, hosting amazing open houses, one is on expireds, like you mentioned, one is on working with buyers. So we've taken it and done like a really deep dive into a topic. So there is something for everybody, regardless. We've had people 37 years in real estate, in luxury, who have taken the course. And then we've had brand new agents, brand new licensees taking the course. The one thing everybody says when they come out of it is either they have so much more confidence around luxury and it's demystified to them, or if they're already a very seasoned agent, they have a clear path of how they're going to build their lead gen. So there's definitely something for everybody.
Awesome. And if you have questions, again, go on Instagram Live Monday at 12:45 Eastern, and Janie will be there to answer all your questions. And then join us Wednesday starting on March 19th for Luxury Sales Success. And there's the QR code. You can go to expelevatecoaching.com to learn more about that. Janie, as always, thanks so much for being here and sharing with us. We really appreciate it. All right. Happy Friday to you. And Russ, happy Friday to you, sir.
Absolutely. Janie, amazing as usual. If you guys have not seen her full program, see it. It's worth every penny.
Thank you.
And by the way, the more you know, the more likely you are to see what you want in your world, in your existence. So get the knowledge first. And then when you have the conversations, it makes it 1,000 times easier. So start with here and the rest of it will take care of itself. See you guys.
All right. Happy Friday, man.
Thanks.
All right, there you go. Amazing, amazing, amazing. A lot of questions answered there that we hear asked all the time. It's like, how do I get into that? I want to be a luxury agent. And she's got all the goods in the front and the back and all the rest of the details. So make sure you check in with that. All right, next up, we have a video recorded for you guys on one of EXP's solutions. So let's get that. Roll the tape.
Hey everyone, this is Donnie Crouch. I'm the Vice President with Realty.com. First off, I want to thank EXP for having us. We're a proud EXP partner and have been for several years. A little bit about myself. I'm a realtor at heart. Got started several years back before I found my way to Realty.com. And now we're a proud partner with many, many different EXP agents all across the country. I've got 2 agents with me today who are both partnered with us in Miami, as well as Maryland, Virginia, and Pennsylvania. So I'd like to bring them on. Well, first question, Jonathan, I'll start with you. There are a ton of lead providers out there. I don't think any of us are immune to the many different calls and emails we get trying to buy leads. So I want to start with you. Obviously, you run a team. You're passing some leads off to your team. Kind of walk me through what your experience has been so far, both on the buy and the sell side.
So my experience with Realty, I mean, frankly speaking, the big attraction for me has been the seller leads. Obviously, listen, we all know that we all believe in list to last. And, that's kind of one of the mantras in the industry. So when I came across you guys, I think it was like about 18 months ago now, right? That was a very intriguing opportunity. And, because you were there at the forefront when I joined. And, we had so much coming in on the buy side that having Realty be able to put us in front of, these cash offer seller leads was a huge plus. And also the way that you all generate the leads to me was very important, because the fact that they come in with the forms and you're getting a little bit more. My issue with buy side leads, and obviously that's a whole other conversation, is you're getting a request to tour a specific property. You have no idea what's going on, and you have little insight aside from that. With your seller leads, I'm also able to get some information with certain tags that you all generate, which lets me know, are they curious? Is this more valuation or is this more immediate? Is there a hardship? And sometimes you even get a little bit of that. So you're able to, and granted, that's a lot of training on our part as the team leaders to bring that, to our agents and to make sure they're communicating it. But it allows you to tailor that conversation. So being able to get the seller leads has been huge.
And for everybody watching that doesn't know a ton about Realty.com just yet, that's our main goal. There's a lot of lead providers out there to where the transaction or the relationship ends after I give you a name, phone number, and email, and that's just not our belief, really. What we're trying to hit is really 3 pillars, which is providing you with exclusive leads, coaching you on how to convert those lead opportunities, and then obviously our ISA live transfers, where we're actually helping you in nurturing those leads. Now, Abbas, we just had a call this morning talking about some things that we can change with your account. So I want to hear from your perspective as well, because you've worked with all of our coaches, you met our entire team, your experience from a support standpoint, because I think that's something that is oftentimes overlooked when it comes to leads. It's just give me the leads, give me the leads.
Right.
It's a big aspect. I want to get your opinion on that as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think just going back in history a little bit, we've really got rid of our other sources of leads, lead companies, and mainly because we're receiving good leads from Realty.com. And so we've centralized all of that through you guys. One of the things that really stands out, we have a weekly call with your coaches and all that. And because of Realty.com and because of the mass of, work coming and traffic coming into our business, we've actually established an ISA team that I didn't have before. So I was really doing all the calling, and a couple of my agents were doing that. Now that's centralized. And now we have a support team at Realty.com that meets on a weekly basis with my ISA team, goes through the coaching, looks at all the leads, tries to do some balancing as far as, on the seller side, on the buyer side. And since then, we've really, I would say exponentially, really increased the number of touches, quality of calls. And even outside of that, not just related to leads, we have coaches that at Realty.com that talk to us on a bi-weekly basis that specifically talk about accountability. That has nothing to do, no other lead source company that I've worked with ever talked about accountability and how when you meet with your agents, these are the things that you should think about. Those types of conversation that are strategic conversation. And I love that because it's not just about buyer and seller leads. It's all about how do we partner together to make our businesses more successful.
Yep. So last question for you guys. Obviously, both successful agents and successful team leaders. Not everybody runs a team of your guys' size. Not everybody has the kind of lead opportunities coming through. And so as a result, they don't have the experience when it comes to working online leads. I say it all the time when you're getting into anything. I don't care if you're door knocking. I don't care if you're cold calling FSBOs. You've got to look at it on a 6 to 12 month pipeline. You can't give something 30, 60, 90 days and expect any sort of return. And Jonathan, you kind of hit on that a little bit earlier today. So I want you guys, from your experience, whether it's a solo agent, team leader, whatever, to kind of give your best advice to an agent looking to get into lead gen, whether it's with us or any other form. Abbas, I'll start with you on this one.
Well, give it time, patience. Donna, you and I have talked about this, like who are these people that are coming to different leads companies that we're grabbing them and obviously transferring them to us as agents. So we really have to build a relationship with them. So just because you have someone's phone number and email and their interest, that doesn't mean they're ready to buy or sell tomorrow. So it's all about getting your foot in front of them and then basically build a relationship. It takes time, 3 months, 6 months, a year. We're working with Donnie. Actually, I looked at this. We're looking at buyers that are back in July of last year. We're working with them right now. So it takes time. Just be patient. It will all work out, and it's all about relationships. And then that one person, obviously through that one person, you'll have multiple referrals. I love you, but at some point, I may have too many referrals. We might say we might not need any more leads, but these leads are creating those referrals for us, which is awesome.
Yep, that's awesome. One of the biggest things I think that stuck out to me, and on all of the coaching calls, I mean, I do some coaching and I work with a number of our partners to, adjust things within their accounts, is relationships, right? And so from the automated campaigns that we have, from the coaching that we provide, it's all about building the relationship. And oftentimes I feel that agents get too fixated on the end goal, which is conversion. And so the initial conversation they have is, let's get you pre-approved. Let's do this. Let's do that. When you have to meet the clients where they're at. So I completely agree with you. Jonathan, best advice you got?
First principles, right? I mean, and I think Abbas just, touched on it, which is like that first deal. You got to put in the 8 hours a day. The biggest issue that I see is, I have agents in front of me all the time. And now in this position, it's like, I talk to agents all the time, and it's, so you guys can't see it, but right in front of me, there's a couch where I usually sit down with agents when they're telling me about everything they want to do. And you end up seeing that their actions don't line up with their goals. Yep. It's very simple, right? Like Abbas says, to get to that first one. And really, if you're an agent and you're only working, the leads that you have, you're at an advantage even over us, because Abbas and I, we have so many things coming at us that I'm looking at a pipeline every morning of like 500 leads. And I'm trying to say, like, which ones do I need to focus my agents on? Whereas you all that are independent, you can focus on those 15, 20 that are in your database, and you have the ability to really build that one-to-one relationship. But you need to put in the 8 hours a day, because if you put in those 8 hours a day, it pans out. And it's a 12-month grind. So like, for example, going to the seller cash offer lead, right? That seller cash offer lead that's coming in, and Abbas, I would love to hear your opinion of how you all are seeing it in your market. But to me, that person is now 6 to 12 months away from selling, right? Because that's the first step in the process. More or less, what would I get? What is it looking like? Unless it's the urgency, distress, divorce, the D's, like we talk about. But you got to nurture that relationship. You got to meet them where they're at. You got to understand. You got to build that rapport. But you're that first agent, and you have an advantage. And so if you're that agent that only has 15, 20 opportunities, you're just cycling through those, and now you got a pipeline. And then to Abbas's point about the referral, what I'm loving about my pipeline is I was also able to consolidate all my lead budget into you all, because I also have a massive pipeline of old money we spent with other providers that is still generating to this day, because 2-3 years later, they're there. But if you're that new agent focused on the ones that you have in front of you, all right, dig deep into those, because the hardest part for you all is to go. I always say, think about it in terms of doubling, right? From 0 to 1, very hard. From 1 to 2 is hard. But then when you're at 8, you go to 16. From 16, you go to 32. So that initial 12 months is the hardest, but put in your 8 hours a day, and you can kind of truncate that timeline, and you can be there quicker. So, just put in the work, and you will get the payoff. You need to put in that work.
Yep. Could not agree more. I mean, we have obviously a number of different support features with the coaching, with the lead assist coordinators. We really try to hit on every aspect of generating a lead all the way through to nurturing them to a close. But I think that highlights it all. You got to put in the work. You got to be willing to put in the work, and online leads are incredibly difficult, but it can be incredibly lucrative, obviously, as we've seen. So again, I want to thank both of you guys for joining us today. If anybody wants to learn more about realty.com, the services we provide, and be a great team leader like Jonathan and Abbas here, you guys can go to realty.com/EXP. I want to thank both of you guys again. Thanks for joining us, and thank you to EXP for having us.
All right, there you go. So realty.com, if you guys haven't checked it out, check it out. Lean into it. See if it works for you, if you want to put that in your life. All right, so there you go. Big agent meeting for Friday. And it is over for now. We got the NPS survey before you go. If you grab your camera, open up your camera, take a look at that QR code, and let us know how we did. Give us a rating on a scale of 1 to 10. Let us know what we did well. Let us know if there's something you'd like us to do differently. Always looking for your support, and also looking for feedback to make this show better every single week. I hope you like the direction we've been going, because we're adding a lot of different things and segments and trying to add as much value as possible. So there you go. That is Big Agent Meeting for today on Friday. Next up, iConversation. Stay tuned. See y'all next week.